Hey guys, real quick, this is another VOD review talking about the Asia Solo All-Star winner and anything we might be able to learn from him regarding competitive. There's some good information in here about layering and more mid-game rotate stuff that he does really well. So I hope you guys enjoy and learn something new. Bye. He lands here, the same sort of situation happens where two other players land here, right? It's just three people. Gets a 20 tag on the guy on the Spire. I just don't know how this sort of split is happening. To me, it seems like the guy right here, this guy, leaves super early and just goes elsewhere after like 1 or 2 building, and then the other two just share majority of retail. That's what it seems like. I just want to watch this sort of fight that happens here because it seems like the guy at Doghouse is not happy about his first game. It seems like Runa King 7 just completely destroyed him, but we'll watch it. So he hears him, tries a window peek. The other guy pickaxing. Wow. It's a really piece control play on this guy and kills him. Really nice. So this sort of secures 200 damage surge, 220 damage surge, right, because of that first AR tag earlier. So Runa King's at 220 damage, so that should deal with the first wave of 70 people surge. So he's fine there. I think what this means is that, I mean, he's chilling actually. The loot this game is absurd. He has max shield. The color of your AR and pump doesn't really matter unless you have purple, so that's whatever. But he has 4 peppers and a launch pad. You could not be happier right now. This is a perfect game. You can almost guarantee a top 5 finish if you just play it properly. So let's sort of see what the map is, because this sort of matters. Runa is currently right here. Right, he's currently right here, and the map sort of pulls bottom right. It doesn't pull all the way. I think it could have pulled more, so zone could be anywhere, I think, from this sort of position. Since the zone didn't pull all the way extreme, you can't really make too many predictions from it. Zone could probably be somewhere in the middle, or even like out here. It's very possible, or south somewhere. I don't think it'll be all in the bottom right. That's just my prediction from it. But Runa is probably, let's see where he is now. Runa's just playing dead side. And that's the thing that you want to do. Every time you have surge solved for that wave, the next upcoming wave, or you're just not worried about surge in general, dead side is a really good option to play if you're looking to play placement. And at this point, with his sort of mobility, he should totally play placement. There's no reason to like W key or get into fights unnecessarily when you have this much of a loot advantage on other people. He should just sort of wait until zone comes. I'm surprised he doesn't use cars. Cars seems like a really good first circle, second circle option to make sure that you have dibs on everything. I think the biggest reason is that he doesn't want to get hurt. So when you're making a car, you make a lot of sound, and other people trying to get surge will try to abuse that. So maybe walking is a safer option here, especially because he has a lot of time. It's 3 minutes before the circle closes. To be honest, like there's literally nothing he could hold except more peppers and a launch pad, and more peppers is super rare. Most of the pepper boxes on the map are just taken by now. Peppers are just super rare. The only thing you could really look for is launch pads. So you just play safe. Even if there's free loot at this point, like don't even go for it. I guess the supply drop is really good. This is a really good, easy supply drop to secure because it's in close proximity to retail. And what that means, right? If this is where the supply drop is, since Runa landed here and he has knowledge that the first person that landed all the way out, right? The first person landed out here, rotated out and left, and Runa killed the second person. Runa knows retail is empty. He sort of controls retail, even though the fact that he left, came all the way out here, came like this, and came back. Just because other people are just going to make the assumption that retail is occupied, right? Other people don't have the knowledge that Runa left retail. But Runa made this sort of rotation, came back knowing he has control of retail. That supply drop landed near retail. It's completely his if he wants to go for it. And he does go for it, which I think is a really good decision based on what I just said, right? No one else is probably going to have the balls to go for this supply drop at all. He's getting tagged up as he goes for it. People are getting surge on him. I think this is okay because you're guaranteed to get some sort of shield from a supply drop. He gets 2 bigs. He's probably just gonna pop 2 bigs. Should take the gold AK, but I think maybe some pros will keep the AR just for close range fights. But for future surge, because I don't think Runa's out of the woods yet in terms of surge later. Yeah, zone pulls somewhere where I thought it would, to be honest. Since the first zone wasn't fully extreme, zone pulls somewhere out here. Doesn't pull all the way to the bottom right again. It pulls somewhere else. And so I'm just thinking, where should Runa position? Runa, if you're not talking, I believe that's him, right? I think what Runa should do is go up here and stay to the right side of the congestion. He should be just on the edge so he can take advantage and tag everyone, but he should stay outside of the congestion so that he can, you know, move to the right if he needs to. If next circle shows up here, he has the option to do the exact rotate that I just pointed out, right? And so he should stay on the rightmost. And I think that's exactly what he's doing. He's going up to Spire. Perfect opportunity to sort of tag people and build up your surge. But at the same time, you're not being restricted in your future rotates because you are either on the right side or left side of all the congestion. You're not directly in the middle, but you're in a position where you can see the congestion so you can tag everyone, right? You do not, by any circumstance, want to just go full dead side in a fully stacked game like this. Full dead side makes sense in games where like surge is sort of like happens first time, happens in the first wave, and then second wave, third wave doesn't happen, right? So then surge doesn't make a lot of sense. Or then dead side doesn't really make a lot of sense. Actually, neither of that makes sense. In games where it's like somewhat stacked, there is some surge, but not a lot of surge. You feel like it's gonna die out in the second wave, third wave of surge. Then going dead side after you build up your 300, 400 damage is good because you're confident that surge won't happen. But in stack games like finals, where you should never disrespect surge, I think it's completely fine to sort of like have a lot of surge early because you built up, you know, your off spawn, or you did what Runa did in game 1, left your drops out early and start tagging people in other POIs when they're not boxed up and they don't expect it. It's really good. You can sort of like get that surge, and then you want to play on the right side or left side of congestion. I think that's like the biggest thing you can get benefit from. If you want to keep one thing from after watching this whole video, anyone that's watched this far, I would say just understand the fact that you should stay right side, left side of congestion, not all the way out, not all the way in, but just on the edge, just so you have the freedom of rotates, but you also have the freedom to tag everyone. I think it's the best thing you could possibly do. And usually the easiest way to do that is if you're landing somewhere like an edge POI. It tends to build up, where if you're in a center, it's really hard to get to those edges and have access to the way the playstyle that I'm asking for, right? It's really good to, I really like how Runa's using wood here, to be honest. Not every, even pros won't do this sometimes, but it makes a really scuffed base of wood. I do think this is a lot of wood, but I think it doesn't matter that much. Okay, is this necessary? Probably. It's 87 alive on the first wave with 192 above. That's a lot. Like, even though he's 200 above, that's a lot of people left. And so a lot of surge is gonna build up. Runa's surge is gonna drop down a lot, and he's gonna have to respect surge harder this game. So that's exactly what he's doing. The biggest thing that I'm really appreciating about Runa is that he's never disrespecting surge, right? He could be like, okay, I just killed someone off spawn, let me just go full dead side. I think that's a mistake. Full dead side on a game where there's gonna be a lot of surge present, and you should never go full dead side. It's just really hard to get surge then, right? But at the same time, you don't need to be caught up in the congestion, because then you're gonna have to burn a lot of mats to make your rotates happen. You really do not want to be using your pad. I'm really happy actually. He has so much mobility. He has an off spawn kill at the same time. He's not disrespecting surge. He purposely positions in a way. And so look what zone pulled, right? Let's talk about the zone actually. It's super important. Let's mark the congestion. This is where the congestion is, guys. On the edge. I'm really surprised there's not more people here, right? You would think there'd be more people here because this is the center of the map, but this is where the congestion is. And if you pay attention to where Runa is positioned right here. This is where Runa is, right? So again, in the next game that he does well in, he's stacked on the right side, right? He's staying all in the far right. And so next rotate, if we trash all of these markings, it's gonna be super easy, I think. Next rotate, Runa's right here, right? Runa's right here. He's gonna go down this hill and sort of walk like this, or he could wait for all these people to go, but I think that's pretty unlikely. Consider there's like 5-6 people here. All these people go out here, and then Runa goes to the right of them to get rightmost again. But this is probably unlikely. I don't see how this is possible, because there's quite a few amount of people here. There's quite a lot of people there, right? And so that sort of rotate. The second one is probably not possible. Runa is most likely going to do something like that, or something like this, right? And this one makes a lot of sense, because then he gets away from the person that's on the hill right here, and there's not a lot of people out in this sort of area right here. And Runa's on height, right? Runa's on top of the spire. He can visually see that this area is uncongested. I think this, stop here, and maybe go to this building, and then go up like this. He is going to be in a weird spot, but he has 2 launch pads. You have to remember that, right? He has so many peppers, so many launch pads. He could probably use a pepper right now. I think he should use a pepper right now, right? To minimize the amount of mass usage. But he could totally make this rotate happen. He will not be in a good position in Fort Zone, but because he has mobility, he has a plan for future zones when it pulls max or something, right? His win condition is to stay alive. To be honest, with how stacked he is, his win condition is to just don't die. Don't grief yourself. And so if you're going for just a standard rotate, I think that's the best option. Trying to go for like a crazy, like high risk, high reward rotate at this point doesn't make any sense, right? Because he already had a lot of mobility. He doesn't need to go position himself incredibly well in zone, because if he goes into a bad position in Fort Zone, he can just pad into 5th when it pulls max. It's like whatever, right? Doesn't have to be on a hill, doesn't have to be on right side, dead side. All of that doesn't matter. He just needs to get in at this point. Unfortunately, I mean, the replay lags a little bit, but he gets sniped, so that sort of sucks. He's actually gonna be missing whites here, so this is interesting. So like, oh, this is so risky. I like how he does play aggressive though. It sort of forces the other player to back off. Wow. My guess is that guy tried to push Runa to deal with his surge problem, and that guy, the enemy, probably got zapped several times, and Runa just went for the kill. So it's really nice that he went for that kill for several reasons, right? Obviously it's a kill point. Obviously it deals with his whites issue because he didn't have full whites, so that's really nice. I'm a little worried about this play, not gonna lie to you, unless he just doesn't. He shouldn't. Yeah, I don't like this at all. This to me makes no sense. Yeah, even if he lives, this is a misplay. There's no way this is right. Wow. Maybe he's a little worried about the pepper, but I am shocked that no one shot him. I'm really surprised. Especially because there's so many elevation, like hills, where people can open up without being scared. So this surprises me. Maybe it's right. Maybe this is a better play than I suggested. Maybe the pepper is bad and doesn't work. But like, let's think about this, right? He got into the fight. Runa got into the fight. So since he's rotating late because of the fight that he got into, he shouldn't take the path that I suggested anymore. He should go somewhere like this now, because by the time that fight finishes, this guy has moved. All these enemies are back here probably moved. And so doing this sort of rotate that I suggested originally, doing this one doesn't make sense anymore. He should just go down here and pepper out to the right side of congestion again. You should totally use a pepper. There's no reason why you should save peppers here. And I don't like the play that he made. Personally, don't like the play that he made to go on the glider. It just is very thorough and very scary. And it's a risk that he doesn't need to take when he can just use one pepper. Because right now he has 3 launch pads and 4 peppers. There's literally not enough zones to justify having that much mobility. You should use it earlier, right? That's my thought. I could be completely wrong, but I truly believe that glider was not the play. And I think a lot of top tier pros would agree. I think they would agree with my opinion. I just don't see how the pepper rotate doesn't work there. Because there is if you think about it, right? If we zoom in here, there's a line of trees right here. There's a bunch of cover right here. You could use this as line of sight. You can use this, right, as LOS cover. As you pepper rotate from Spire, you jump down here, walk down here, use this, maybe get in right here, right? Or just get in right here. But the glide it scares me. It really scares me. I personally, yeah. Well, either way, he gets past it. It works. It's really nice that he pulls zone. He is stacked on mobility. I repeat, it's just mind-blowing. So again, the only concern is Surge right now, and so he should just take free tags when he can, because Surge can always surprise you. You should never disrespect it. He is 300 above, so if I had to guess, his second wave is going to be pretty easy to get. He should still get more tags if he can, though, to be honest with you, just to be safe. Like, you never know, but he shouldn't take unsafe peaks. He shouldn't tunnel in on unsafe peaks. He's in a really good spot, though. This position becomes immediately good because of this RNG zone pull. There's no one near him. There's no sort of congestion near him, so using a launch pad is not dangerous. Using pepper for the first like 5-6 blocks is not dangerous. You're never going to get boxed. So I think he's in a really nice position here. We can see where the congestion is building up. It's very obvious. A lot of people are refarming in that POI, the metal POI. A lot of people are refarming there. Take a look at where half-half pulls. Half-half pulls towards congestion. Now, this is interesting. So, what Runa did, if we go all the way back here, let's sort of look at a POI like this. What Runa did, Runa's right here, right? He's right here. He sees a free pad that was used right here. He has a lot of pads himself. He has like 3 pads, but he could use this in moving several times, right? It's not like 3 pads just means like use them, right? Like he could save them and then just short pad a bunch of times in moving zones to save a ton of mats, because then he doesn't have to look for like a impact for a long time. So Runa goes like this, goes onto the pads and stays on the left side, because if you're staying on a side where it's like you're not head on onto these windows, that's very difficult for these people to see you. It's also difficult for those people to notice you, right? You want to stay like, when you're gliding, you want to stay into like this diagonal, so it's very difficult for them to edit on you and shoot you, right? So that's exactly what Runa does. He stays on this left side and sort of glides in this sort of airspace instead of going out here and like going head on against this window. Builds in. He's on an elevated layer, so he could steal pad, but also more importantly, his layer isn't that congested with players. So people aren't just going to start random box fights with him when he's this stacked. I'm very curious how he uses his mobility in these moving zones. Okay, zone pulled back. The biggest thing to recognize is the fact that zone sort of pulls in a straight line. If Runa's right here, all he has to do is go in a straight line, so it's really easy to like path, but it pulls on congested side. So front side of zone is going to be really scary. Runa should sort of wait and use a pad, I think. Pads and solos, by the way, during moving zones, they're not scary at all. Pads and trios, they can be really scary. We can get triple sprayed from height and insta-die, but in solos, there's only one height player and then like 40 people on the ground, right? So all those 40 people on the ground are not really doing that much shooting during moving zones on gliders. It's only ever the height player, I feel like. And so if that's the case, padding is relatively safe. He can just glide a lot here. He can glide a lot. And he goes around the tree to cut LOS. Should land on top of that brick. Oh, scary. Nice. Okay, nice. He is chilling here. He goes out to the left because he noticed people on his right. He's really lined up with moving, with this moving. He should go up. He should totally go up. Okay, let me explain something here. Let's look at this POV from a side view, right? Let's say this is Runa's box. Runa's box right here, right? Let's say this is what the ground looks like. Okay, let's say the black represents the ground, right? And so enemies are red. Let's say there's enemy boxes right here. This is exactly what's happening actually. Runa has like 2 boxes like this, right? And this is where zone's moving. This is a side view. There's an enemy box underneath him right here. So I want you guys to pay attention to like, what is this enemy eventually gonna have to do, right? He's gonna have to go up layers. And so that forces him into Runa's proximity. And so Runa, to compensate for that, he needs to go up layers early, right? Runa really needs to make sure that he gets up layers and goes on higher layers. He needs to get up to like either this layer or this layer, right? It's probably better to go on the 2 layers up, just so that these guys aren't, you know, still like these guys will break the floor if they're forced to, right? So if this guy's stuck because the ground goes up, it goes uphill, he's probably just gonna wait here or just go ahead, get ahead early, and then this will start a fight between these 2 people, right? You don't want that. So if Runa goes up early, giving this guy space to move, it's sort of like, let me just draw an analogy, right? It's sort of like this. If this is the road, right? This is what the road looks like. Right, but then this lane closes. This lane completely closes, right? What you want to do is give this guy space. If there's an enemy car here, if you will, this is an enemy car, this is your car, you need to give this guy space by either like going faster, right, or just getting out ahead. And since going faster in this sort of situation doesn't really make sense, because you're sort of limited to how fast moving zone shows, you need to just give him space. You need to just go out this way. Right, this just makes sense. You need to make your car go left, give him space, get out of his way. And this is the same thing that's what's happening here, right? You need to get out of his way. And if you do that, then your confrontation will just take less. So I really hope Runa goes up layers here. He needs to just get up. He uses a pepper and free rotates out to the left. This works too, because it saves a lot of mats actually, because he sort of lets everyone get ahead. He's like in the middle of zone, so he's not all the way in. This whole area lags, so that's nice. But he sort of lets everyone get ahead and then peppers without building. It saves a lot of mats. It's really a nice play. He has a lot of peppers, so he should be using them. If anything, he should be using them even earlier. Like, I don't know. It's really nice what he did, but he only has 38 builds now, so he has to like sort of look for an impact here. He should totally pad here. He should totally pad. But he's looking for kills, I think, which is the right mentality to be in at this point. Just kill. 38. It's really nice to like shoot at everyone that you see. Runa's doing this really nicely. Oh, that's sketch. But I like that he went over his head. But Runa's in the right mentality. He's doing this really nicely. The fact that he's shooting everyone that's a free shot, because sometimes people will just be really weak in solos. You have no idea. You won't know until you shoot them. So going for shots on everybody that's a free shot is really nice play. He's letting everyone get ahead a little bit so he can pepper forward and not have to build as much. I don't even think he ate a pepper. No, he didn't eat a pepper. Just surprises me, but it's okay. He's sort of like saving these peppers for like next round. It just doesn't make sense to me. Right now, Runa has enough peppers that he could eat one and like literally make it all the way to the end with full uptime. So he should totally use them. Maybe he's a little worried of getting like out of control of speed. I have no idea. Either that or like I think he just forgot about them, to be honest with you. Pepper is just too good right now. You should land on these. There's no mats in there, I think. Good shot. A hard shot. Really close to dying, but at this point you should eat 2 peppers, like get some whites, honestly. These peppers are really important to be used. Medkit doesn't work. It doesn't work. Yeah, okay, nice. Yeah, he got it. Nice. Yeah. He had no mats. I'm pretty sure that was the issue, right? Did he have 0 builds? And Zone was going up and over the hill, right? So higher layers are benefited. And he's really low. No, he has 11 builds. Wait, what? No. You should use this. Padding is so whatever. It's much easier for me to say this, being the guy that's spotting, by the way. It is so much harder to play properly, even if you're literally the top tier player, in a tournament setting. I can definitely relate to like that sort of thing. So it's very, very easy for me to criticize as the VOD reviewer. Keep that in mind. But I obviously, if we're being objective, I don't think the launchpad was right. He should use those 11 builds, sort of like build up the hill and look for another impact, if possible. Maybe he just thought that the launchpad was gonna give him a sort of like the glider would cancel in an area where he can just glide into and land very quickly. But unfortunately, he got stuck and got exposed to height, and so height just kills him here. Height player is like almost out of mats, needs to drop down. Anyways, yeah, Runa played that pretty well. I do think there's a lot of misuse of like not using peppers, but hitting his shot is way more important than all of that at that point. Like him getting that kill and the guy that jumped in his box gave him a lot more placement than he should have, you know, gotten. The biggest thing though that differentiates Runa over everyone else is his mid-game macro. His early game and mid-game macro is really on point. The only thing that I disliked or like disagreed with in this game was that glider play in second or third zone off the Spire. I don't think that was right, but I really agree with all of his decisions in terms of going for that supply drop, in terms of getting on top of Spire, in terms of staying on the right side of congestion, not being involved in the congestion, but like being on the edge so you can tag everyone for search. All that is very nice. I really think that's really nice. I'm in full agreement with all of that. So